Hello, listeners and fellow book lovers. Welcome to the Book Snug, a bi-weekly conversational podcast about books and the reading life. My name is Julia.
And I'm Stephanie.
And we're a mother and daughter who love reading and talking about books. The ones we adore and the ones we don't. We're delighted you're here, so grab your favorite hot drink or ice-cold beverage and settle in for another cozy, bookish chat.
Hi, Julia.
Hi, Mom.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm not good.
I'm so sorry.
I've been sick for well over a week, almost 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm finally feeling well enough to be out and about, but I need to apologize to you and to our dear listeners that I'm going to sound like I have a frog in my throat the entire time today. We put off recording as long as we could, but we've just got to buckle down and do it. So I apologize for the gravel. Bear with me. I still hope it's a good time today.
Yeah. And we're talking about a fun episode, or like a fun topic. So I think it'll be.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, listeners and friends. Welcome back. We're so happy you're joining us today. We are going to be doing kind of a little bit of a controversial topic. Mm-hmm. Julia, you and I are readers. We love books. Mm-hmm. It's why we have this podcast.
Right.
And friends, we are assuming that you are readers and love books as well because you're joining us today here in the Book Snug. When it comes to the debate of whether books or movies are better, ultimately readers fall on the side of books being better.
Right. Primary source 100%.
Right. And there are all kinds of reasons why we say the books are better. You get all the background information. You get to know what's going on inside your characters' brains. The writing can be beautiful. Mm-hmm. So we tend to lean hard into the book is better. Mm-hmm. But today we are going to be a little bit oppositional.
Yes, we are.
And cantankerous and argumentative because we are going to say that there are some movies that are better than the source material, than the book.
Yes.
And not only are we going to say that some movies are better than the books, we're going to talk about why. Why we feel like the movie is going to trump the book every time. Mm-hmm. This is all in good fun. This is no hard feelings. So if we choose a movie over a book that you love, please don't take it personally. This is just a pure fun, just a fun conversation.
Yeah, it's an exercise in personal preference.
Right. And maybe when you hear our reasoning, you might agree a little bit with us. Maybe not. We'll see.
Or tell us we're absolutely bonkers.
Right. I mean, there are movies on this list that Julia and I do not agree about. So it's fine. We can all still be friends and not agree 100% on everything.
Yes, this is a mark of maturity. We can do it.
All right, Julia, are you ready to dive into these turbulent waters?
Yes, but first, I'm curious if you're drinking anything.
Oh, I guess we do need to talk about our teas. I am. Mine is medicinal. Oh. I'm drinking throat coat just to get me through all the talking. It's my biggest problem. Yeah. My voice just doesn't have much endurance. It's been a real problem with teaching too. I just really struggle. So throat coat with slippery elm for me today.
Oh, so fun.
Yeah, that doesn't taste the best, but it does help my throat. What about you? What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a chai.
Okay.
But I went a little too hefty on my collagen when I put it in this morning. So now all I taste is vanilla collagen powder instead of chai.
That's unfortunate.
It is, just a little bit. So maybe I'm bordering on the medicinal too. Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, so our sips are not going to be that enjoyable.
No.
But the conversation hopefully will be.
Yeah.
Before we talk about the specific movies, what would make a movie better than the book for you? Are there specific things or is it unique to each movie book combo? Do you have specific things that are going to pull you into a movie more?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe the first thing I should say is in terms of the list that I've pulled together, the criteria that I was looking at was, am I more likely to rewatch the movie than read the book?
Reread the book.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that then opens up the question of why. Why is that? And I think for me, the casting, if the people that were cast, even if they don't look how I pictured, that they still do a good job of handling that character. Maybe the scenery and it's visually exciting to look at, maybe more so than how I pictured it. In the case of one of the movies that we have on the list, when it puts to visuals, things that I couldn't visualize.
That you and your brain couldn't put together
Right.
from the story.
Or I didn't have the technical knowledge to understand what was being talked about.
Yeah.
I also am a big fan of scores, like musical scores. So how the music adds to the experience. If
I
it's
didn't even think
immersive.
about that. I did not even think about that, but that is huge for me too.
There are some music, like movie soundtrack scores that I listen to on a regular basis because of how immersive they are for me in the movie experience.
Right.
Directing or visuals, things like that. So things that would make it more likely for me to rewatch the movie than reread the book.
Right. To add to that, I want to talk about the music again because it wasn't something that I thought about, but I'm just sitting here thinking about the Lord of the Rings movies, and the music is so iconic and so perfect for the books that it is hard for me to imagine a time when I read those books without knowing the music. And I did, because I read them first when I was a teenager.
Well, and the music of the Shire, like that's part of my spring soundtrack. Yeah. Like that's just, it's music that I hold to.
Yeah.
For certain vibes or aesthetics, if you will. But it you're right that it's hard to picture some of these books without the soundtracks of the movies.
Right.
Once we've seen the movies.
Now, Lord of the Rings is not going to come up in this discussion because I love the movies, but I draw the line at the Lord of the Rings. Plus, there's so much in the book that can't really be shown in the movie that I love. So no Lord of the Rings here today.
Well, and there's another one too, and this one is further down on the list, but there's an actual like melody that they play in the movie that I just find myself humming occasionally, and it ties everything together. Okay, but I'll identify which one it is. Yeah,
you pretty much stated everything I would have said as to why I would pick a movie over a book. Cinematography for sure. If it is visually stunning, that will really help me to maybe lean more towards the movie than the book, especially with romances, and a couple of those are going to come up. If there is really good chemistry between the characters that you can just really buy into, especially if there's a lot of pining and longing and really working into a relationship, I love to watch that on the screen. So that does play a part in me choosing a movie over a book.
Yeah.
And then just atmosphere. Yeah. Sometimes watching a movie, if it's done well, the atmosphere can just really enhance the whole experience of the story.
Oh, definitely. I'm trying to think of some other. So, like, I have never read Sweeney Todd or Ichabod Crane. I know that there's an actual, not Sweeney Todd, Sleepy Hollow and Ichabod Crane. I know that there's an actual, like, piece of literature about that.
Yes, yeah.
Whereas that movie, it's dark, it's creepy, it gets into your bones. Like the atmosphere in that movie is top notch. But because I've never read the actual primary source material, I don't know how it would compare. But to me, that's an example of how that atmosphere could add in the experience too.
Sleepy Hollow, which would be the Headless Horseman. Yeah. What's the name of the actual?
Ichabod Crane, isn't it?
No. I'm drawing a total blank. Total. Okay. We weren't prepared to discuss this. So
this was a bad example.
But it is an example of a group of movies that we are not talking about today, but that could be their own episode of stories that someone has come along and made a movie. Yeah. Based on the concepts, but they don't actually follow the plot line at all. Right. So I'm thinking of Ella Enchanted. Yes. Is one. Yes. That the movie and the book, I love them both, but they're totally different. Right. The Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp and Christina Ricci. Yes. Is a great, spooky, scary movie, but it is not.
Right. It's different.
The Headless Horseman, Sleepy Hollow historical.
Right. It's different.
Novella. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's a whole other conversation too of like books and movies that are different from each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so as you were talking, like the Willy Wonka movies and book came to mind as well. And how
that's different.
Well, and I know that there's a new one that just came out too. And how maybe they all say parts of the same story, but yet not at all at the same time. So that could be an interesting topic to pursue at some point.
Yeah. Bridget Jones' Diary, which is based on one of the Jane Austen novels. and Clueless, which is based on Emma by Jane Austen. Those are other examples. They're adaptations. They actually follow the books pretty well that they're based on, but those books are based loosely on retellings of other stories.
Yeah.
So yeah, that could be a whole different episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, why don't we just dive into some of the movies that we've been thinking about? I need to say, first of all, that all the movies I'm going to talk about, they're based on books I love for the most part. I have not picked any books that I was so about. The books I would definitely reread. Some of them have been favorites from my childhood, favorites from my adulthood. It's just that the movies offer something extra that makes the movie even just that little bit more of a favorite or more special to me.
Sure. Yeah, and that makes sense.
Okay.
As I'm looking at this list, there is one that I have mixed opinions on the book, but we'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there.
So, do you want to go first? Do you want to pick a movie and we can talk about it?
This first one, I'm going to acknowledge the fact that it's been a while since I read either or saw either. Like it's been a while since I read the book and or saw the movie.
Okay.
But that's The Help, and the book is by Catherine Stockett.
Oh, yes.
And I think I read the book first before I saw this.
I know I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the movie has Emma Stone, Viola Davis, and Octavia Spencer in it.
Yes.
And the book itself is really good, but I remember that the movie being, that emotional piece was in the movie more than I recall in the book. And I think the humor translated a little bit better into the movie as well.
Yeah.
Emma Stone did a fabulous job with the main character, and I don't even remember her name now. But she played that main character very well. And The Help is a movie that I go back to watch occasionally. Versus the book, which I have. I guess maybe there's something to say about, like, when you know that there's hard emotional stuff, are you more likely to watch the movie with it or more likely to read the book with it?
Right. Because the movie, you can get it over with quicker.
Right. You know that there's a very set time frame.
With a book, you have to sit with that emotional uncomfortableness or devastation for longer.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but that's the first one on my list here.
That's a good one. I didn't even think about The Help, but I remember really enjoying the book and really, really enjoying the movie. And I'm with you. I would definitely be more inclined to go back and watch the movie than I would be to pick up the book.
Yeah. Okay. What's one that you want to start with?
Well, I'm going to start, I think, with two books that I read when I was a little girl.
Oh, your parents were together?
Yeah, okay. Just two.
Yeah.
One I loved. It's still a favorite, like an all-time favorite of mine. The other one, I did not enjoy reading it, but when I watched the movie as an adult, I loved the story so much better. So the first movie is The Secret Garden and book by Frances Hodgson Burnett. And the movie is from 1993. It stars Maggie Smith as the housekeeper, and then the young girl is Kate Maberly.
Oh, I love Maggie Smith.
I just struggled when I was in grade school to read the story. I don't know if it was the writing style or the story just didn't grab me. But when I saw the movie, and I was an adult at that time and married, actually, it was just such a lovely movie to watch. Gorgeous scenery, gorgeous house. The child actors were perfect for their roles. The dad was perfect. I just really, really loved it. And so I did go back and read The Secret Garden and did enjoy it more as an adult, but I still like that movie version better. I think there are other movie versions of The Secret Garden, but it's this one, the 1993 version with Maggie Smith, that I liked the best.
I don't think I've ever read that book or seen that movie.
Yeah. I couldn't remember if we watched it when you were little together or not. I know this next one that we're going to talk about, we watched together.
You know what? If we watched The Secret Garden, it might have been once and I might have been very little because I know the story, I think. But I don't myself recall ever like picking it to read it or picking it myself to watch.
I don't think I ever even had it in the house available for you guys to pick up.
Sure.
Then the second book is The Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Now, I loved this book. Absolutely loved it. Read it over and over again when I was a kid. But there is a movie that was done in 1995. The little princess, the girl, was Liesl Matthews. And then Eleanor Braun was the school mistress, the really nasty lady. She did such an excellent job. And even though Liesl, the actress who played the little girl, did not look like the character in the book, I just felt like she personified her perfectly. Sure. Plus, the way that the movie is done, the cinematography is just so beautiful and so magical.
And so heartbreaking.
Yes. Yeah. So I do go back and read The Little Princess every once in a while, but I also love the movie and could easily watch that in an afternoon when I was just feeling kind of nostalgic.
Yeah. Although I think the ending of the book and the ending of the movie are slightly different.
They are slightly different. We're going to talk about a couple other movies like that as well.
Yeah. But I didn't know. So I had I had seen the movie a number of times before I actually read the book, I think. And I remember reading the book for the first time, reading that ending and feeling very upset that that's not how the movie was done. And I felt very betrayed by the directors. Yeah. But no, the movie it's very sweet. And I just watched it recently too. I don't remember when, but it was pretty recent and loved every minute of it. I'm going to say that it's really equal for me, book and movie. And for a lot of these, it's actually going to be like that. But the movie is beautiful and I love it. And I'm far more apt to watch the movie than pick up the book. Yeah, definitely. Okay, Julia, throw another movie out there that we can talk about. So Fantastic Mr. Fox is next on my list. Okay. Who wrote the book? Roald Dahl. Okay. And I read this book for the very first time this past fall. And it's just a short little thing. The book was actually really enjoyable. It was fun. Like, it was a good end of September, October kind of read. And Ben, my husband, loves Wes Anderson. He's one of his favorite directors, which is so odd when you know who my husband is. That's anyway.
I like Wes Anderson too. I've seen a lot of his movies.
Yeah. That tracks. When Ben is a big old biker dude, Wes Anderson, he's a very odd, complex character.
His movies are just visually stunning and fascinating.
Yes. Yeah. So the Fantastic Mr. Fox movie is done by Wes Anderson. And it has George Clooney in it, Meryl Streep, Bill Murray, and a whole host of other people that I didn't realize were in it as well. And of course, there's other things in the movie that are not in the 20-page little novella. Yeah. But the movie is, firstly, it's huge in the whole fall aesthetic. Yes. And I like claymation, or I like stop motion movies.
I do too.
And so this one is just really enjoyable. Mr. Fox is an interesting character. I'm not always the biggest fan of him, but this movie is just fun to get cozy and to watch the Wes Anderson visual scape happen. And it has a good ending at the end too.
So just to clarify, this is claymation. So George Clooney is the voice of Mr. Fox?
Yes. So it's stop motion. It's not actual, it's not claymation like Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay, got it.
It's stop motion because you can see the texture,
the fuzzy texture,
the wool textures of things. But yes, George Clooney is the voice of Mr. Fox, and Meryl Streep plays his wife.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never read Mr. Fox. And the Fantastic Mr. Fox, and I did not see the movie either. So that might be something I'll have to put on my list of fun things to do.
Yeah.
My next movie suggestion that I think just beats out the book a little bit is Life of Pi by Jan Martel. The movie is from 2012 and it stars Suraj Sharma. I liked the book very, very much, especially the first read. Now, I did not reread this, but this is a type of book that the best experience is the first time around, because there are some interesting turns in the story that you don't catch until the end. And then it's the type of book you want to go back and read just to see if you pick up all the clues that get you to the ending of the book. Okay.
Well, first of all, I haven't read this yet, and I'm going to read it this summer, so don't say too much.
I'm not. Okay. I won't. Okay. I won't say anything about the story. The reason that I'm picking the movie above the book is because it is so visually stunning. I think it does stick pretty close to the plot line. I don't think it deviates much from the plot. It's been a while since I read the book and watched the movie, but I don't remember feeling disappointed in that regard. But the movie is just so beautiful that I feel like it trumps the book just that little bit.
Okay.
I recommend both, though. I recommend the book. I recommend the movie.
Okay.
Tell us about another one of your superior movies over the book, Julia.
Movies. Okay. My next one, if you are long-term listeners to the show, you will find this an incredibly interesting addition to the list, and that is The Great Gatsby.
Everybody knows you hate The Great Gatsby.
I hate The Great Gatsby. And again, I feel like I always need to preface, it's not the writing, it's the story.
Right.
Like, it's not, I don't like complicated character dynamic relationships like that. Like, even the book that I'm actively reading for an upcoming episode is doing some of the things that The Great Gatsby does that I can't stand.
Yeah. Plus, you don't like any of the characters in The Great Gatsby.
No. I don't find any of them likable. You're
not an unlikable character person. No. Okay. So what about the movie makes it okay or makes it better? Maybe. Or that you would even want to watch it? That's, I guess, what I'm stumped by.
Okay, first of all, maybe I should also preface by saying that I'm not a huge Leonardo DiCaprio fan either. But when I was thinking about the criteria of what movies am I more likely to reread over wow, English language skills. What movie am I more likely to rewatch over rereading the book? And The Great Gatsby came up because I am not likely to reread that book anytime soon.
Right.
But I could see myself watching The Great Gatsby movie because of the visuals.
Right.
And because Baz Luhrmann creates very lush, decadent scenes.
Theatrical.
Yes. Settings and everything like that.
Yes.
So Great Gatsby snuck its way onto this list because of that. Because there are things about the movie that would pull me in to watch it again.
Right. And maybe the characters aren't so unlikable in the movie as in the book because you aren't in there.
That's valid. Yeah, that's true.
You're not getting a lot of the background noise that you get in the book. I do agree. I think that actually both Great Gatsby movies, the one you're talking about and the earlier one with Robert Redford and I think it's Mia Farrow, they're both beautiful.
Sure.
They both give you this sense of opulence that you're running in this rarefied air of high society.
Yeah.
But for me, this is where I'm going to disagree. The Great Gatsby is such a pleasure to read because of the writing that I think I will always choose the book over the movie.
Sure.
I'm also not a huge Leonardo DiCaprio fan. I don't care one way or the other about him. I mean, he won't make a break or movie for me.
No.
I don't like the casting as much in the newer movie.
Okay.
I like the casting better in the older movie with Robert Redford and Mia Farrow and her husband. I forget who's cast as her husband.
I don't think I've ever seen that older version, so I had nothing to compare to.
Yeah. So of the two movies, I would pick the older, but it could just be exposure preference.
Sure.
So yeah, that's my take. But that's fine. You can like the movies better. It won't hurt my feelings.
I mean, that is what this topic is too. Exercise and personal preference.
Okay. Let's talk about The Martian by Andy Weir.
I have a trauma response to this movie.
I read this book before I saw the movie, and I enjoyed it a lot. I don't want anybody to get the impression that I did not like this book. But it is heavy in the science. Most of his books are. I read Project Hail Mary with your dad. We listened to it recently, and there's a lot of science in his books. So when you watch the movie, you see the science, but you don't get all the explanations.
Yeah.
And to me, that's more enjoyable.
Yeah. For those of us that aren't science brained.
Right. This, if you're not familiar with The Martian, this is a space novel.
Yeah.
It takes place entirely on Mars.
Isolated.
Very isolated. Matt Damon is the only character for the majority of the movie. He is just trying to survive. Yeah. He's accidentally left behind, and he has to survive until somebody can come and get him. If anybody can come and get him. It's intriguing. It's tense. It's thrilling. And the movie, because this is Mars, is very visually appealing. They do a great job of that isolation, that space, the tiny little buildings that he has to live in. And so I just like the movie more because it was just a better experience for me overall. It helped me visualize everything so much better. Just because I didn't have the background knowledge to be able to do it in my brain while I was reading. The book is not bad. I just want to stress. Read the book. It's great. Yeah. But the movie is just better for me.
Yeah, sure. I don't know if I'm going to read the book. Not that I'm against it, but I guess my question to you is, how accurate is the movie to the book?
They're very, very similar.
Okay. So
why waste your time?
Well, but here's the thing. I have a fun vasovagal response. And in the first 20 so minutes of a movie, there's a very intense medical procedure that happens.
Oh, yeah.
Very intense.
That's why he's left behind. They think he's dead.
Right.
Yeah.
But this response was such that when we saw this in the theaters, I about passed out. I had to put a cold water bottle against my throat, put my feet in the air. And so I know reading it would be 10 times worse. That being said, after those first 20 minutes, I loved the movie. Yeah. It was amazing, but I'm not likely to watch it again because I don't like that feeling.
That first, I don't know, maybe reading it would not be as bad as actually seeing it. For me, seeing things like that, operations like that, and this is coming from somebody who's worked in the medical field most of her life, I don't do good with like trauma.
Sure.
But reading it, I'm okay because I can control what my brain is visualizing.
Pace it a little bit.
The Martian, it's one of those movies. If you watch the movie, I don't recommend you read the book.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not like the writing is adding anything except the science.
Sure.
So unless you're really interested in the science-y background parts of why he's doing what he's doing, just watch the movie and enjoy it. You're getting The Martian.
Okay, so maybe that's good to know.
Yeah, it's one thing you can just check off your list and move on.
Done. Check. Done.
Maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but I don't know. We only have a finite amount of time on this earth. And you've experienced The Martian already.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, and it brings up a good point of like, if there's nothing outside of the story to add to the reading experience, then what's the point in reading it unless there's little bits of the science things that you're missing, or there's little bits of like, so for example, there's some Harry Potter movies that I think you could get by without reading the book, but then there's additional information. I think like the fourth or fifth one, Hermione does a whole thing with the house elves.
Yes.
That's not in the movies, but it's important to her character in the book. So it kind of just depends on what you're looking for in terms of additional information with those stories.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, my next one might be another controversial one, too.
Not for me, but...
Well, okay. So my next one is Dune by Frank Herbert. This movie came out in 2021, and it stars Timothée Chalamet, Stellan Skarsgård, and Zendaya.
Mm-hmm. And it's only the first half of the book,
the
correct?
Second one, I think, the second part of the first...
book.
Yes. Either has just released or is about to any minute.
Any day.
Yeah. Okay, so Dune has been annoying me.
All right, do tell.
Because I complained about it reading it. And I complained politely while we were doing that episode with Mark.
Yeah.
But the more that I let it sit on my shelf, the more it gets in my head like a series that I need to finish. And I don't want to. But it's just, for whatever reason, it's pulled me in so hard that now I'm invested. And I don't know why. Like, I think about the book still. And it is so frustrating. Anyway, this movie is another visually stunning experience. And Hans Zimmer does the soundtrack. And music nerd moment, I watched a couple of interviews with him about the soundtrack. And he said, why would I create a soundtrack that has melodies like we would recognize melodies if it's coming from an alien planet?
Right.
And so when you think about the soundtrack and you think about that in mind, first of all, it demonstrates high artistry on his part.
Yeah.
But two, it goes back to that atmosphere building that we were talking about of creating this almost whole different culture in the music.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with the movie, though, and it goes back to that science thing as well, that like having all the background that's in the book gives you an understanding of what's happening. Mm-hmm. But I think you can watch the movie without it and understand what's going on.
Yeah.
for the most part. So that's my rant on that.
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie?
I have not. It's on our list of movies to watch. Yeah.
It's enjoyable. I mean, it's long, but it's enjoyable. I think, I will say, because we did read it, I think it's easier to understand. Like, I was more compelled to sit through and finish the movie.
I was going to say, if you had not read the book, is it an easy movie to watch?
So I will say, I watched it with Ben and he fell asleep halfway through, but he tends to do that if we're watching a movie late at night. So he's not tired. He's not a good gauge.
Yeah.
I think it would just also maybe depend on somebody's ability to put subtle context clues together and move through it that way. Yeah. I don't know.
I'm curious to see how somebody would interpret the book. I know it's been made as a movie before and not very successfully. Yeah. So I would like to watch it. I felt fine with the book. I didn't hate it. I had a lot of issues with it, but it is an interesting story. Yeah. Definitely like a grandfather of science fiction that a lot of stuff has been based on since then. Right. Star Wars.
Oh, for sure. Star Trek, I think, too.
Yeah. Even. So, yeah. I would like to watch it.
You should watch it with Dad and see what his perspective is.
And see if since he never read the book. Yeah.
Although I wonder if it's a book he'd like, probably.
Who knows?
I know.
Okay, moving on from Dune. It's funny how Dune just keeps cropping up on our
This is what I was
podcast.
Getting at. It's so annoying. This is this is the earworm that doesn't get out of my head.
Right?
Dune is frustrating me.
This next book and movie combo I want to talk about, I think a lot of people have the same opinion that I do. And that is Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. The movie is from 1993. Sam Neill and Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum star in it. I've read the book twice. I listened to it by myself once, and then when Jay and I, Julia's dad, were traveling through California last year, we listened to it again.
Which is a great place to do
because we did a lot of driving, and yes, it was a perfect place. It's a great book, and there is a lot of philosophy in it that you don't get from the movie. A lot more people die in the book than the movie, and different people die in the book than die in the movie.
Interesting.
However, I am going to say that I like the movie more based solely on the dinosaur aspect.
Really?
Yes, because when you're reading the book and you hear them talking about the dinosaurs, that's all well and good. But when you're watching the movie and you see the T-Rex and you watch him beat up the cars with the people in it, and just the velociraptors and how incredibly scary they are, the book just builds that tension and that scare factor so much better than, did I say the book?
You did.
Oh, the movie. The movie is just, it does that better. One thing in particular I like about the casting that they did with the movie as opposed to the book. In the book, the sister is younger and she is ridiculously annoying. I mean, way beyond what any normal child would be at her age. Just unbearable. But in the movie, they made her older and the boy is about the same age. He's still the dinosaur expert, but it just, the dynamic is so much better and more enjoyable than it is in the book. So I appreciated that. And I just loved the experience of seeing the dinosaurs and the thrill and the horror of it all. Even though I would highly recommend the book, the movie is better.
I've never seen this movie.
You've never seen Jurassic Park?
I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I've never seen it beginning to end.
Oh my word, what kind of parent am I?
I don't know, Mom.
You and Ben need to some night just say, we're going to go retro and we are watching Jurassic Park tonight.
I'm not against watching it. I just think it's never come across easily in my path to watch.
I'm sitting here talking to you about the movie like you've seen it.
Did you see the blank look on my face? Okay, but truly, I have seen bits and pieces of it when we've been at the beach and somebody's been watching it. I've seen scenes.
Right.
And I know the general storyline, but I've never seen the whole thing. And I know the soundtrack. I know what the music is. Yeah. I've heard that many, many times. But I guess this is going on my need to watch movie list for next year to get myself up with pop culture.
So anyway, I recommend to you, Julia, and to our listeners, Jurassic Park, the movie, but also the book. Sure. I just like the movie better. Yeah. And like I said before, almost everything I'm mentioning here, I like the books. I would absolutely read them. There's just something about the movie that makes them just that little bit better. Do you have any more movies you want to talk about?
I have a couple.
Oh, good.
This next movie is a very late addition to my list.
Okay.
And that is it's Emma by Jane Austen.
Okay.
And it's the movie with Anya Taylor-Joy that came out in 2020.
Okay, the snarky one.
Yeah. Now, I will say there is a part of the end of the movie that is not in the book, and it caught us both off guard when we saw it. But I think this movie is a very fabulous representation of Emma.
Yeah.
And if you want to get into Jane Austen, but you're very intimidated by the writing, which can happen, this is a great place to start. And I found it visually lovely to look at. Anya Taylor-Joy is a fabulous actress anyway. I love the stuff that she does. And I think the dad in this movie is more hysterical too than Michael Gambon is in the other one. So this was just a very late addition, but I think it's another great example of maybe the movie is a little bit better.
Yeah, delightful.
Yeah. Not that the book itself is really fun too. And Emma Woodhouse is a snarky character. But I just found this movie to be really, really fun.
Yeah, I agree. Emma is actually not my favorite Jane Austen. It's pretty far down on the list, actually.
Sure.
But I would agree with you that that's a very good version. We're going to get into Jane Austen here in a little bit.
Yes, I see them coming up here.
Let's talk about a movie that you and I both, I think, have read the book and seen the movie.
Sure.
And I feel like the movie is better, and I have reasons for that. And that is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. The movie was released in 2018, starring Ty Sheridan and Olivia Cooke. The book was great. I loved it. It was fantastic. I kept giving it to people to read, like my kids, because I knew they would enjoy it. It's action-packed, very gaming-based.
Yeah, it's very fun.
Yeah, and it's actually, the whole focus is a game.
Yeah.
People trying to win this fantastic prize. But the reason that I like the movie a little bit better is you are in a futuristic world, and they do a very good job in the movie of showing you what the real futuristic world looks like.
Yeah.
Plus, a lot of the book takes place within a game with avatars and all of this stuff happening, battles and dances. And the movie just did a really good job with CGI showing that as well. And so I appreciated that boost to my imagination.
Sure.
That's why I like the movie over the book. They don't follow plot point by plot point totally, I don't think.
No, they don't.
I can't remember completely, but I felt like the movie was a ton of fun and I really enjoyed it. And I would very much be more likely to just watch the movie than pick up the book again.
Yeah, I mean, I read this book this year, and to me, this goes the way of Ella Enchanted.
Okay.
Because they both are very similar, and they both have similar beginnings and similar ends and similar middles. But there is some components of the book that I feel upset weren't included in the movie.
You felt it was done better in the book.
Right.
Yeah.
But I love the movie. The movie is fun.
Right.
And you said imagination, and it made me think that like the movie and the book are like perfect grounds for imagination. And the movie, with all of its visuals and all of the nerdy stuff that's in it, you just dive right into all the imagination. The book, though, there's a part where he gets an extra life that's not at all included in the movie. And I think that that's important. Where there's a piece of the test where, and I think this would be so cool to do, of you have to recite the exact quotes from a movie in order to pass through the test. And I know why they didn't do it in the movie because of copyright issues.
Right, yeah.
But that would be so much fun. And that would be an actual game that I would do. Like I would actually download it and play it.
Right.
So there's just pieces of things like that I wish we would have seen in the movie, but I understand why they're not in there.
Right.
Did you know that there's a second book?
I did know that. Ready
Yeah.
Player 2.
Yes.
Yeah. Are they making another movie?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. So that's my next hot take. I don't know. Is that a hot take? Are any of these hot takes really?
I don't know.
What's your next hot take, Julia? Astound us.
Okay. So my probably hot take here for this one is that the Chronicles of Narnia, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the movie is better than the book. And the specific movie I'm talking about is the newest one with Georgie Henley as Lucy. And I can't remember the guy's name that voices Aslan. And I know his face. He's in all of the Taken movies.
He's in all the what?
The Taken movies.
Oh, Liam Neeson.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I could see his face and I knew who he was.
Tilda Swinton plays the White Witch. Yeah,
yes.
From 2005.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason that I like this one better than the book, probably because I saw it before I read the book, but this goes the way of the music for me, the music and the visuals.
All the fantastical creatures. Yeah.
And there was something visually about watching the snow move into spring that I always really like.
Seeing Aslan for real, like in real life.
The soundtrack, I think it's actually titled "The Battle," is one of my favorite actual like orchestral pieces that I'll listen to. I think it's done so well. Mm-hmm. So this one just sneaks by a little bit simply because of those extra features.
Yeah. And again, when you get the itch, you can just watch the movie and
right.
Instant gratification.
Right. And I think we talked about this in our last episode too, about the scene of watching Lucy enter Narnia for the first time in the snow. The scene of her doing that in the movie is just so wonderful.
Lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
agree. I would have to agree with that one too. Even though I love the books and the books have special qualities all their own. Mm-hmm. The movie is definitely wonderful.
Yeah. Okay. What's next on your list?
I am going to go with And Then There Were None.
Okay.
By Agatha Christie. And I am specifically talking about the 2015 miniseries with Toby Stephens, Aidan Turner, Miranda Richardson. I'm not going to get all the actors. Sam Neill, Bern Gorman, Charles Dance.
Okay.
Who was, I think, Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones.
Charles Dance?
Yeah. The old dude. Like the dad.
Does he play a creepy
He's
evil?
the judge.
Oh, he does good creepy people well.
But anyway, I love And Then There Were None. I love the book. I've seen the play. And this movie is just perfection as far as atmosphere, dread, just the taut dread of the entire movie. It from the very beginning, everybody's on edge. They're all worked up. People start dying, and it just gets crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it is so good, and you can rent this through Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was a mini series. I watched it the whole way through though, so I don't know.
Like,
yeah. But excellent. I think I watched it through Acorn or BritBox, but you can rent it. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Got it.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, it sounds good, and I like
it. Would be a great movie to watch around the Halloween time, just because of the foggy, gloomy, isolated island. The house that they're staying in has like a creepy feel to it. There are creepy butler and maid and cook. And then all the people there are very nervous, suspicious. It's just so good. It's so good.
Okay, noted.
You need to watch it, Julia.
I know.
Listeners, you need to watch it. Yeah. It's, for me, And Then There Were None is one of the best Agatha Christie's there are.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have an Amazon account, so I'll have to find another way to watch it. But
we can discuss it
we'll
later.
figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. Any more movies? Are we running out of movies yet?
Well, no.
Okay.
Okay. My next one is The Princess Bride by William Goldman.
Oh, I've heard a lot of people say this.
Yes.
I've never read the book.
Now, again, this is an example of Ella Enchanted. Of the movie and the book are very different experiences.
Okay.
And I have reread the book a number of times. And I think it's just, for me, the movie is iconic.
Great casting.
Yeah.
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 Buttercup.
Wesley.
Yes.
Billy Crystal keeps coming to mind as one of my favorite characters in that movie.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
Yes.
You
Mandy
killed my
Patinkin,
father.
Andre the
Prepare
Giant.
to die. Yeah.
Anybody want a peanut? I found, so over COVID, all of the celebrities who didn't have work to do, they filmed, I forget what the app was, but they filmed little snippets of The Princess Bride. And I found it all in a whole long form. So it's all these random celebrities in like 10-second clips filming
a part of The Princess Bride.
Filming The Princess Bride. It is the most hysterical, adorable, nonsensical thing I've ever watched. And if I need a giggle, I just put this on.
Yeah.
But the book...
Should we find it and link it in the show notes?
I have it.
Okay.
I have an actual serotonin boost playlist that I've made on my YouTube, and I have it in there, and I'll send it to you, Mom, because it's amazing. But the book, William Goldman, who is the author of The Princess Bride, writes the book as if he's discovering the book from somebody else, that somebody else wrote the book and now he is working with it. And he does a lot of breaking the fourth wall. If he'll write it and then he'll pause and be like, this is what my wife is doing in the background, or this is all the background information as to how these characters came to where they're at. And there's even what is supposed to be a second book at the end of it. So you kind of get how the characters end. And the book is a fabulously enjoyable experience. But I would say that it's more for the quote unquote nerdy people, or like the Ren Fair type people who like the source material and want to know all the details about it, versus the people who want to just enjoy the movie and watch the movie.
Which would probably be me.
Yeah. But they're both fabulous. The Princess Bride movie itself for me is part of my spring repertoire that I will watch at least one point during the spring.
I mean, as a family, we've watched it. I don't even know how many times. Yeah. I was just thinking too, have you read the book by Carey
yes,
Elwes?
I have it. As You Wish.
As You Wish. Titled. Thank you. Yes. That is a great companion book too.
Did you listen to it? Or
yes.
I have the real thing. So I have all the photos in it too.
I have the book, but I listened to it. He narrates it. Plus other actors and actresses from the movie come into the book and talk. So it's good.
As I was getting the information off of IMDb, there was some quotes that they had listed. And one quote said from Andre the Giant, he said, I really liked being there because nobody saw me, that he was just part of the cast instead of this big, unusual person. And there's a fabulous story in As You Wish where I guess Andre was out drinking, which he probably shouldn't have been doing.
Right.
And he drank himself into a stupor and fell asleep on the floor of the bar, and they just left him there until he
they
woke
couldn't
up
move. Do you know, my favorite part of that book is when Mandy Patinkin, Carey Elwes, and
on the bridge,
Andre the Giant are up on the
trying to film
parapet. And who farted, Julia?
No, Andre.
And they couldn't. They kept filming it because they kept laughing.
And I think Carey in the book even says something like, "It is hard to play mostly dead when you can't breathe."
You're laughing so hard. Okay, enough of that, because I sound like I'm going to die. I sound like I have smoked a cigarette since the day I was born.
So yes, if you please, dear listeners, if you have not yet treated yourself to The Princess Bride, please do so.
Yes. And then read the book. What?
And then As You Wish. Mom, you are mostly dead, it sounds like.
All right, moving on.
Yes, please do. Because all of these other quotes are coming to my head.
The last three movies that I have chosen are very similar, and I could have added another one in. So I'm going to put two together, and then I'll talk about the last one after you do your... Okay. You have one final movie, right?
This, and then we have a couple of extra things to add at the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I love watching period romances that are based on classic literature if they're done well.
Yes.
Two of my favorites, and I'm going to say a third because I just watched the ending a couple days ago and remembered how wonderful it was. So I'm going to say Pride and Prejudice with Colin Firth and Jennifer Ely. Ugh. Talk about music that you just remember. And I watched this originally when it first came out as a miniseries. I looked forward to every episode like it was Christmas.
Yeah.
Those two actors had such incredible chemistry. It was the chemistry that made it so good.
And it still translates to today.
Yes. And the costumes and the setting, it was just... I can watch that over and over again. And I read Pride and Prejudice pretty regularly. I reread it, but I love the movie. And so I'm sorry, Jane. I am so sorry, but the movie trumps the book.
And can I be one more step controversial?
Sure.
This version is better than the 2005
version.
Oh,
I agree 100%.
A million. And I know all the book girlies get weird about the scene where the hand scene or whatever. From the 2005 version. I'm sorry, you have not seen the lake scene in this show. Yeah. You have not seen the look that he gives her when she's playing piano.
Right.
Y'all need to watch this version.
Yeah. I just love it. And that is saying something because I love Pride and Prejudice, but I just love this movie. And then the second movie, and Julia, please don't be mad at me, but Jane Eyre. By Charlotte Bronte,
I'm not mad
the
at
version
you
with Toby Stephens and
this
Ruth
is amazing.
Wilson. The chemistry, and I love watching their relationship develop. Look, when I read the book for our show when we were talking about Gothic literature, I actually got kind of cringe about the relationship between
it can get
Jane
really weird.
And Mr. Rochester, but not in the movie. In the movie.
In the movie, I think they're closer in age than they are in the book.
Yeah, but he's not quite as, I don't know what word I want. I just don't feel the cringe like I did when I read the book that last time. In the book. Yeah. I mean, there are still issues in their relationship. There's definitely a master-servant relationship.
Oh, sure.
Older man, younger woman thing going on that's problematic. But oh my gosh, the chemistry is just over the top. Yeah. So I love Jane Eyre. I love the first person narration in Jane Eyre. But I like the movie that little bit better. And then all the side characters in that movie, like the housekeeper, Mrs.
I don't remember.
Yeah, why am I struggling?
Or I will save you and say Adele.
Yes,
or
Adele.
The Eltons.
Aunt.
Oh, she's gnarly.
Yes, I know. Seriously.
Woo.
Yep. So anyway, it's not, and the movie is not faithful to the book.
Not entirely.
No, but I just love it.
Yeah.
So
this is the movie, and I think I said this earlier, there is a melody in the theme of this movie that it gets stuck in my head because it adds to that. It's very, not tantalizing, but it is very minor in key, and it's very like pulling you in, but you need to be afraid. And it just, the music in this one is very, very good too.
Temptation.
Yeah. So good. I think we're about due for a rewatch of this one.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah.
And then the third, I don't have it on my paper, but I'm going to say Sense and Sensibility with Hugh Grant and Emma Thompson.
Oh, I love Emma Thompson.
That ending.
Oh, was she
when he comes back and says she realizes he's not married, and she
just sobs.
Yeah, can't even stop herself. It's
so good.
You don't get that in the book. No. You don't get that emotional release.
Yeah.
The heft. Yeah. Oh my gosh, just so good.
Right. My YouTube algorithm is all over the dang place because I was advertised a video of Edward Ferris being pining for 8 minutes straight, but it was the Dan Stevens Edward Ferris.
Yeah, that would be okay too. That movie would be okay too.
Edward Ferris, when I think of Edward Ferris, I think of him bumbling and just kind of ridiculous, like how Hugh Grant plays him. But the Dan Stevens is, in this little short video, it was hysterical because you could see the I want to, but I don't. But like,
yes. And I don't, maybe it's just me, but when I'm reading, I feel that, but when I'm watching it, I just experience it completely.
Well, and Hugh Grant does it, I think, the way it's supposed to be done.
Yeah. Well, and the pining that I almost said Emma does, but Eleanor, the pining that Eleanor does, the casting in these movies, I think, are what make it make them so wonderful, and just that step above the books.
Well, and I'm going to go a step further. I think Emma Thompson and
Kate Winslet.
Yes, their pairing as sisters is immaculate as well.
Oh yeah,
they play off of each other so well, and demonstrate how Eleanor and Marianne actually, I think, are supposed to be in the book too.
Yeah, wonderful.
I need to watch that movie again. So good.
We're going to have to do like a weekend of just movies. What is your final movie, Julia, that you want to share with us today?
So, Les Miserables by Victor Hugo, I think, needs to make it onto this list.
I have never read this book, so I can't comment.
It is 1,700 pages if you're reading the unabridged version. How big was Monte Cristo?
11 or 12.
Yeah. I have 2 copies of Les Mis, and they are both chunks. It took me, I actually finished it on my second read through. The first time around I didn't, because there's a whole 100 pages of the Battle of Waterloo.
That's where you just kind of like skim.
Victor Hugo. But
if your eyeballs fall on the word, that's reading, you know.
To each their own, Mom. But it took me until the second read through to recognize that Victor Hugo was writing as a philosopher. So he was being very insightful into the characters that he was talking about and human behavior, and his writing
politics.
Politics. His writing it was so incredible. Most of the pages in the copy that I read just have things underlined all over the place because of the writing.
Yeah.
I love the book. But I'm not sure it's anything I'm going to reread anytime soon. Unless I can find a good audiobook, then I'll make it a long, like a year long
project.
Yeah. There is a movie. There have been a couple of movies, and there was one movie that I saw, and I can't picture. I can picture the main actress, and I can't remember her name. The point is that one is not the musical movie. It's just a straight movie, and I didn't think it did it very well. The movie with Anne Hathaway and Hugh Jackman and the fully stacked cast of characters from 2012 is
Eddie Redmayne in there?
Yeah. Eddie Redmayne and Helena Bonham Carter. And is it Russell Crowe?
Yeah.
Or is it
I think so.
It's everybody.
Yeah. With singing. Yes. Great singing.
Yes.
Yeah.
My frustration with this movie, though, is there's a song in the movie that is not in the original musical.
Okay.
And because I love the musical, I'm frustrated about that addition.
Yeah.
However, this movie is wonderful.
Yeah. I agree. I loved it.
Yeah. It's very faithful, other than that other song, and a little bit at the end. That's a little bit different. But because I'm not going to reread the book anytime soon, I'm more likely to watch this movie.
You're going to embrace the movie hard.
Yeah. I did find in my research that there was a Masterpiece Theater miniseries that was done of this in 2018. And it has Lily Collins and Dominic West, who I recognize from somewhere else, and Olivia Colman.
Okay.
And I'm a huge Olivia Colman fan. And so now I need to figure out how I can get into Masterpiece Theater to watch this miniseries.
You might have to buy it just for a month just to be able to watch it.
I know, but it looks good. It looks really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I love that movie. I love the musical too.
Yeah.
Probably because of you. It's not really anything that I would have chosen.
I will always remember the year that you guys let us pick an Easter gift.
Yes.
And I was deciding between seeing a Demi Lovato concert and seeing Les Miserables at the Fulton.
I'm so glad you chose Les Mis.
This was before she was going to get weird,
right.
though. But I remember how we somehow got very back row seats at the Fulton. And we paused for intermission, and you and Dad looked at me like, what the heck did you have us come see?
Well, it was so spectacular and such high art. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a production that like very few theaters put on anymore.
Yeah. Well, the singing is just...
It's incessant.
Out of this world. Yeah. Well, it's not easy either.
No, it's not. But it borders the line between opera and theater play, musical. Because there's hardly any few like actual spoken words in it at all.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have one more.
Go for it.
Book to movie adaptation where I think the movie is better.
Okay.
And there is a change in the movie as opposed to the book. The ending changes, and it is the ending that absolutely makes the movie for me. And that is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. The movie stars Richard Armitage and Daniela Denby Ash. It's a miniseries from 2004, and I think it's a masterpiece miniseries. I've read the book. I honestly now can't remember if I read the book first or saw the movie first. But okay, I'm a Richard Armitage super fan. Okay, if he narrates an audiobook, I am listening to it.
100%.
Yeah, I don't even care what. I don't care. Just say words so I can listen to them. And I love this story because it's a little bit different than Jane Austen. It's based in Victorian England. It really focuses in on some of the social issues of industrialization. Yeah, Elizabeth Gaskell, she does that. She does that very much in her writing. She's very aware of what's happening societally based on the industrialization of her world. But anyway, I love a story where there's a lot of pining between characters, where they're really struggling to come to terms with their relationship, who they are as people, who they're going to be as a couple. And you get that here. And of course, Richard Armitage is so good at the brooding looks and the... I can't even talk about it without getting all drooly. It's such a good movie. It's a good book, but the movie is spectacular. You get a real sense of place in the movie, but the ending, when you want to talk about romantic endings.
Are you going to be able to talk about it?
I can't. Just take my word for it.
Okay, great.
This is the most romantic ending I have ever experienced in my life in a movie.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to stop blabbering and just say North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell, the movie with Richard Armitage and Daniela Denby Ash. Primo, pick the movie over the book every time. And that is because the ending is so spectacular. Plus, the Richard Armitage's mother, her character, the woman who plays her, does such an excellent job. Yeah.
Okay.
So good.
Is this, I might be confusing this with Mothers and Daughters. Is this the book that's not finished?
This one is finished.
Okay.
This is not Mothers and Daughters.
But that's the
Wives
one where...
and Daughters.
Wives and Daughters.
Yes.
That's the one where she never finished.
She never
the
finished.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's also good. And that's a good... I think Rosamund Pike is in that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Early young Rosamund Pike. But this one I would pick over that one for sure. And I just love this movie. I just rewatched it a little bit ago, and very, very good. Love the casting, the setting, everything.
Gotcha.
So good.
Okay.
All right, I'm done gushing. Hey, before we've kind of been talking for a while. Before we close out, are there any upcoming movies or new movies out that you want to see that you've read the book and you're looking forward to?
So no active movies, I would say. Maybe the second part of Dune. Maybe I'm interested in that one.
Yeah.
But a lot of the ones that I've pulled are maybe not finished yet.
Okay.
So, well, maybe I'll say this one. There's a new Percy Jackson show on Disney Plus.
I heard that.
It looks like they're going the way of what the new Harry Potter series is going to be, of like a book is a season. Okay. So they're really going to take the time and be
pull it
intentional. I mean, I watched the first episode of it, and there's already a major difference in Grover, which is frustrating to me.
Okay.
He's not, because in the book, he's either in a wheelchair or he uses crutches to get around because of the disguise that he has. In the show so far, that's not the case. He's walking around normally.
Okay.
So to me, that's a big part of.
That's interesting why they would change that now when people are very sensitive to disability representation.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I don't know. I only watched like 10 minutes of it and then stopped, and I need to go back and watch it again. And I could have seen something wrong too, which is possible, but I am interested to get into that one and settle into that. The new Harry Potter series that they're in the process of developing has created quite a buzz. I wish they would go a different avenue with that, but I think it'll be interesting to see how they're going to take one book and make it a season and play things out and be truthful to the actual books, because we mentioned earlier about Hermione and Spew and the house elves and things like that,
right?
And some of those details. So I think it'll be cool to see it played out much larger.
Yeah.
And then there is I've looked this up many times, but The Devil in the White City, I believe Leonardo DiCaprio has the production rights for that.
So it could be a movie.
Right.
Yeah.
But he has it, and I think Robert De Niro is part of the team as well.
Okay.
But production halted a little bit ago because Keanu Reeves left the team. And so now they're kind of, it's in limbo. But I'd really like them to get their act together and make it work, because it's supposed to be a miniseries, and I think it would be fabulous if they could pull it off.
Yeah. Absolutely. Sounds good.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, we talked about Andy Weir with The Martian. Project Hail Mary is his latest book, and that is in pre-production. Ryan Gosling is going to be
interesting.
the main character. That's also a single person in space. So he will basically be the only character in the movie.
That'll be quite a jump from Barbie.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
I have no idea when that is scheduled to be released. The book Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, I understand, is coming out this year.
Okay.
Your dad, Jay, and I are listening to that right now, and I have read it already once. So it's good. That's a very stressful, very tense thriller, kind of speculative fiction. Boys in the Boat has just recently come out. George Clooney directed that. Yeah. That is a great nonfiction book. Okay. I loved it. I have been hearing mixed reviews about the movie, so I'm not sure. I find the older I get, if it's a book I really, really love, I tend not to seek out the movie adaptations because I'm just afraid I'm always going to be disappointed. Ruin it. Yeah. Another example of that is All the Light We Cannot See.
This is so upsetting.
I read that book a while ago, so I don't remember the specifics. My sister Kelly did too, and she's really enjoying the miniseries. But Mark, who was a guest on our show a little bit ago, and his wife read the book together very recently and started watching the miniseries and said, no, it's no good.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to do with that.
I know. I don't either. Because the cast looks really good too. And it was such a good movie, or such a good book that like I do want to see it visually. Right. So I don't know.
Yeah. A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles just came out as a miniseries. I forget who's releasing that, like which platform. Very good book. Would probably make an excellent miniseries if it was done well. Okay. And then The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, which is a World War II book. Very sad. That's coming out in a movie, I think, or a miniseries. I don't know. I didn't look into it hard enough. Yeah. Then there are a couple of books I haven't read, but I own and think that I would enjoy seeing them in production in a movie. Two of them are space. I always like space movies. I love
space movies.
So is Project Hail Mary is space too. Cold Storage and Mickey 7 are both being turned into some kind of movie.
They are.
And they're space movies. Okay. And I think Cold Storage is like a thriller space story. Okay. And then Custom of the Country by Edith Wharton. So that is going to be a period drama. Sure. So I would really enjoy that. Okay. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, it sounds like we're book lovers, but we're also very secret movie lovers, too.
Yeah. I'm a very visual person.
Yeah.
Photography, movies, art is very moving for me and meaningful. So movies are going to do it for me sometimes, for sure. Yeah. Sounds like you're the same way.
Yeah.
And audio, like Audible. You're an audio person is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Music.
Yeah.
For sure.
This is very true too. Very true.
Okay. Fun discussion.
Yeah, we had quite the list of stuff. It seems like there was a bit of a theme, but yet we were also all over the place at the same time.
Yeah.
Listeners, I would love to know, I think we would be very curious to know, first of all, do you think the movie can be better than the book?
Yeah.
Or if absolutely not, we're crazy for even proposing this idea to begin with.
And if you think that you have a movie that's better than the book that we didn't mention.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We'd love to know, please and thank you. I want to put a little plug in here for you that we have another 3 Peas in a Pod episode coming up very soon.
Yes, March 20th.
Yes. And the book that our guest has requested is Outside by Ragnar Jónasson.
Yes, an Icelandic author.
Yes. And I have made a couple of allusions to this one. It's cold. It's cold. So if you need some cold, this is the book for you.
Yeah.
Our next episode, friends, is going to be another spicy episode. We must be feeling extra feisty at the beginning of this year. I don't know what's going on. But this next episode is Unpopular Reading Opinions.
Yeah. We are pulling from YouTube, and we're going to do an Unpopular Opinions book tag.
Yeah.
So that should be fun, I think. I had fun putting it together. I don't know if it's going to be a ton of fun talking about it.
It'll be interesting. Let's just say you guys are really getting to know us here now recently.
Yeah, this will definitely be a way to figure out who we are as readers.
Yes. I know we ask this all of the time, friends, but it does help us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to a very small degree, it's very nice to see that people are enjoying listening to us, and it's helping us to understand the other book snuggers out there.
Yeah.
So when you rate and review us and you share us with your friends, it helps us see our Book Snug community.
Yeah.
I know that we said that we are kind of still working on a website.
Yeah.
Which WordPress is annoying, but we're working on it.
Yeah.
But by rating and reviewing us, you can continue to share us with your friends and help build our community.
Yeah. It just makes us more visible to people.
Yeah. Finally, dear listeners, thank you so much for spending part of your day with us today. And we would be absolutely tickled pink if you would join us here in the Book Snug in the next chapter.
Bye, friends. We'd love for you to continue today's conversation with us at the @BookSnug_podcast on Instagram and at the Book Snug Podcast on Facebook. All of our episodes can be found wherever you listen to podcasts, as well as at our website, thebooksnugpodcast.budsprout.com, where show notes for every episode can be found. We'd love to hear from you. Email us at thebooksnugpodcast@gmail.com.
As C.S. Lewis, one of our favorite authors, so famously said, "You can never have a cup of tea large enough or a book long enough to suit me," and we wholeheartedly agree.